This video is clickbait. Don't leave just yet. More accurately stated, this video is about clickbait. So, listen to the video, and you'll understand why I did this. Let's talk about the subject of clickbait for a few videos. Now, you might say, I thought this channel discussed the idea of psychology and gaming mixed together. What does clickbait have to do with this? Well, before Twitch came along, YouTube was the big dog for video game items. It's still one of the major sources for video games, news, let's plays, streams, and so on. I believe it still fits in for what we hope to do here. That, and I almost guarantee you, we have all been the victims. Well, victim is most likely not the right word. We've all been conned into clicking on articles or videos promising one thing, but giving us something completely different. So let's talk about clickbait, shall we? Let's try to look at some of the psychology behind it. Now, before we do this, we want to ask the question, what is clickbait? As always, we want to define our terms. The big reason why is because different studies define clickbait differently. And as such, you might have a different idea of clickbait than what I do. And so, I'm going to give a base definition that we're going to use, at least for this series of videos. Now, to define clickbait, we want to talk about some of the characteristics that make clickbait what it is. First of all, let's talk about one of the things that we always notice first, and that's the title. The title of a clickbait article will be stated in such a way that it catches the eye of the viewer or listener, and to pique the curiosity of that individual. And without getting into too much detail right now, the purpose of the curiosity is to give the audience the hope of information. We'll talk more about this in a later video, I promise. But that's how I want to put this. It piques your curiosity in the hopes of gaining knowledge. These titles are creative, if not somewhat sensational in nature. And it's not merely something that's informational. For instance, if I were to take this video, the title is, "This Game Will Make You Hate the Beatles." Okay, that's sensational in nature. And you clicked on this more than likely because you became very curious and you thought, what video game would make me hate the Beatles? And you hoped that this video would explain how you might come to show disdain for the Fab Four. But I got you. The title of clickbait will usually show certain characteristics. There's 7 that we're going to talk about. The first is questions. This is often an open-ended question. We naturally assume that the article that asks this question is going to answer it for us. Or it might be a list. Think of anything that's watchmojo.com. It might cover quick and easy hacks to make your life easier. Or it may discuss top 10 this from this franchise. There's also WH words. Who, what, when, where, why, whether, and although it doesn't start with a WH, how. All of these are used, but not to ask open questions. They're used to make statements. There's demonstrative adjectives. These are words that are phrases that begin with this or that. I chose this type of bait for my article. This video game will make you hate the Beatles. Positive superlatives uses terms like best, most, closest. They're done to give an idea of something achieving the greatest of something. On the opposite end of the spectrum, there's negative superlatives. They use terms like worst, least, fewest, furthest, to give you the idea of the lowest common denominator of something. And lastly, there are modals. Modals are words or phrases that express suggestion or even obligation, like the word must. Now, along with the title, there's something that's found within the title, and that's deception. Okay, let's be honest. When you clicked on this video, you did so in the hopes of hearing about a game that would make one hate the Beatles. You might have thought about Rock Band's Beatles branded video game where you could play the Rock Band styled instruments and sing along with either Paul McCartney or John Lennon. You might have even looked at the thumbnail, and we'll talk more about the thumbnail soon, and you wondered why Kermit the Frog was drinking out of Paul McCartney's cranial cavity. You click on the video, and there is little, if any, information on this subject so far. None of you were likely expecting an informational video about the psychology behind clickbait. While this video is used to teach and inform, many clickbait articles give the impression of informing while either giving you the bare minimum or pushing a false narrative. You're coerced into clicking the article because the title made you believe you were going to be informed about a certain topic. Now, the next point is not always true, and it needs to be mentioned, and this is where I tie together our title and our thumbnail together with everything that we're discussing right now, and that is a kernel of truth. Good clickbait will often tie together the article with the title. And so again, let's go back to the title of this video. I'm now going to tie everything together. I have a podcast with a fellow YouTuber by the name of Cosmoronic. Our podcast is called License to Game. We review video games based off of licensed properties, whether it be a television show, a comic book series, a movie, something of that nature, even books. So, we were recently reviewing an old NES game called Jim Henson's Muppet Adventures Chaos at the Carnival #1. The video and the background is that game. In the recording, I mentioned that as a teenager, I would play this game while listening to the Beatles' One album. And since that point, I've had a hard time listening to Eleanor Rigby without thinking about Chaos at the Carnival. And to be honest with you, I don't like that song anymore. I do not like listening to Eleanor Rigby. It's a skip for me because it makes me think of that old game. Cosmoronic joked that if we ever were to make a video of the podcast, we could make a clickbait thumbnail called "This Video Game Will Make You Hate the Beatles." So you see, there's a kernel of truth that ties all of this together. Is it really and truly about this game? No. But that's not the point. The point is, the title has pulled you in, has given you the bare information needed, and that's all that it needs to do. So that's the title. You've got the title, you have deception, you have a kernel of truth inside of it. Let's talk about the thumbnail. Now, we're going to go deeper into detail about some of these things in the future, so we have to be very generic right now. But the thumbnail plays a huge role in our clicks. There's an actual psychology behind that. For instance, there's color psychology. Colors are used in marketing, as different colors can often be used to evoke different emotions. For instance, the color blue often emotes the idea of sereneness, calmness. And even though these two social media networks are anything but calm, it's one of the reasons why Facebook and Twitter use a lot of blue on their websites. The color yellow often denotes happiness. But that's not always the same thing. Green or yellow can also be used to represent sickness. So what clickbait will do is use this type of psychology to their advantage. Again, we'll talk more about color psychology in the future, but know that color plays a huge role in this. Let's also talk about our good friends, the Red Circle, and his brother, the Red Arrow. A lot of clickbait will have this big red circle over an item that may or may not have anything to do with the video, or there's an arrow pointing. Well, what's the psychology behind that? Well, think about a big sale at your favorite store. What are you most likely going to see in big bright letters? Sale, 50% off. You might see the dates of the sale that lets you know there is a limited time that these items will be on sale. And why do they do this? They're trying to get your attention. They're trying to catch your eye, as if to say, look at me, I am important. Well, that's the purpose behind thumbnails. This arrow is going to scream out to you saying, look at me, I have crucial information to give you about this video. Now, does the arrow or circle have anything to do with the actual video? Not always. This isn't about information, this is about getting your attention. So you can view the color psychology and these circles and arrows as another form of deception. So all of these things will come together to make clickbait what it is. And so the question now is, how do we define clickbait? Well, here's the way I'm going to define it for our upcoming videos. Clickbait is an article or video using deceptive or manipulative tactics in the hope of gaining revenue off the clicks of those looking for certain information. That's clickbait. And as much as I hate to say it, this video has been clickbait. But I hope that you learned a lot, at least about some of the psychology behind it. In future episodes, we're going to look more in detail about clickbait, and I'm going to be more forthright about what we're discussing when we go through those things. But I do hope that you enjoyed the video, that you were able to learn from it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I hope you have a great day. Take care of each other, love one another, and as always, game in good health.